How to flirt like an extrovert if you are an introvert. Welcome to the video. You're watching this because you are fed up with the results that you get in dating being an introvert. It fucking sucks. And the reason it sucks is that while you fucking take pride in and enjoy having a casual cup of tea at your library, watching the fireplace, reading a book, that doesn't help the girl see you and perceive you and meet you first of all, actually, because an introvert is not going to go out a lot and meet a lot of people. But at the same time, the most important bit is that a girl needs to assess your personality and who you are, like your energy and vibe, to feel you, to feel your presence, to see if she's going to like you. And an extrovert is putting all of that out in the open for the girl to see, and an introvert is hiding all of that. So the reason why you're not getting the results that you want is exactly that. Okay. So before we go any further, if you're serious about your dating life and you want to improve and advance and start attracting the women that you actually want, go down to the description below, click around in the links. These are all the resources that you will need to help you improve your dating situation and dating life. Now, with all of that said, why should I be talking about this? I'm a dating coach. I have been a dating coach for over a decade, and I've seen a lot. I've learned a lot. And I have also gone from completely introverted to very extroverted. So everybody or anyone that tells you that if you are an extrovert or if you're an introvert, if you're born an introvert, you're gonna die an introvert, dude, all of that is bullshit. I was able to completely switch it around and now I enjoy being around people, okay? Now, with all that said, I've seen the difference that it makes when you can be extroverted and you can allow people to see who you truly are and to be, on the one hand, completely open and honest, and on the other hand, while you're being honest, be and vulnerable, be confident and be happy and be commanding and leading and dominant. So putting all of this energy together, this is exactly the right recipe that will take you, to get what you want, to fucking connect with women and have amazing experiences and adventures and relationships. Okay, so let's get into it and start seeing how we're gonna set this up and what your full guide to start at least acting like an extrovert is gonna be. Now, the first thing I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna give you a psychological setup. We're gonna just like put things in place, put a little foundation there in order to support you in making the moves that you wanna make. And the second thing is we're gonna talk tactics, or I'm gonna give you specific steps of, if you will, even like emulating the extroverted behavior so that girls can feel your presence next to them and like you and get attracted to you so that you can also start having the relationships and adventures that you want. Okay, now, let's get into the psychology. Why? Why do you want to start being an extrovert or at least acting like an extrovert if you are an introvert? We talked about the benefits of extroverts. It's specifically the fact that they're comfortable putting their personality out there for girls to witness and assess. There's nothing that's hidden. There's nothing that is kept. There's no gatekeeping. It's like, I am who I am, take it or leave it. And in that act of saying take it or leave it, that is the most attractive thing. So what happens if you stay an introvert forever? I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but what's going to happen is you're probably not going to meet the girl of your dreams, if any. Why? Because to meet the girl of your dreams, you absolutely need to meet a lot of girls so that you can even start understanding what you like and what you dislike, so you can hone in on who you're interested in. And if you stay an introvert, dude, you're just not gonna have the experience that is needed. All of women have a lot of social experience because most women get approached by default. Even if they're not super attractive, they're still going to get approached and thus be exposed to experience, be exposed to social interaction. A lot of guys also do that themselves. So all the people that are successful in dating, they definitely gather the experience. If you don't gather the experience, you're just not guaranteed to meet the girl that you should be spending your life with. Okay. Now, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna do all this? The first thing I want you to do is to promise yourself that whatever happens, this is a temporary thing, and you always, and you know this because it's true, you always have the option of retreating back to your library with your cup of tea. Okay, you can make the experiment, you can try to be a little more extroverted in one way or another, even if you don't watch this video. Like, you can just go out and try to be extroverted in whatever way you think that this would work, and then still fucking come back to your man cave and be who you were the day before, and nothing has changed. Okay, so you always have that safety net, and that's gonna allow you to not be anxious about what you're doing. So I feel that's a good step number one. Now, the next step is that I want you to assume an identity that is temporary. How are we gonna do this? You see that a lot in training clients where I will have them in a bar and they will be having a terrible time, and then I'll tell them, just act like James Bond for the next 5 minutes. And all of a sudden, they know how to stand. They know how to conduct themselves. They know who to talk to. They know what to say. It's kind of crazy, but it's just like temporarily they're allowing themselves, they're giving themselves permission to be somebody else. And that's fine, because we are neuroplastic. Maybe not we don't have the neuroplasticity that we had at 5, but still our brains are malleable. We can still change. A lot can change. Unless you're like lazy and a fucking bum and you are, what's the word? You have surrendered to whatever fates you think you should have. Bro, if you haven't done that, you can fucking change. Absolutely. And I see that every day as well. So assume a temporary identity. If you must, give your character a name. Today, you're not going to be you. You're just going to be Jack. Unless you're actually called Jack, in which case you can choose a different name. The other thing you can do is what I just mentioned. You can be James Bond. You can pick a movie hero who you're gonna emulate, who you're gonna be on any given night. And I'm saying night because our training grounds are going to be a bar. Okay, I want you to go to a bar. Where's my... Yes, I want you to go to a bar to be somebody you haven't been until now. That is how you do it. You can go to a bar alone, or you can go to a bar with a friend. If you go to a bar with a friend, you should tell them that, if you go to a bar with a friend, you should prepare them, because otherwise they might even hold you back, because the friend has a unconscious expectation that you will continue to be who he knows you to be. And tonight, you need to be somebody else. So you need to warn your friend. You need to tell them, hey, look, bro, today I'm doing an exercise that I found online. And if that seems a little weird to you, just know that it's something that's, I'm just doing something else today, and that's it. And if you warn them like this, they're gonna allow you to be whoever you want to be. Okay. Now, everybody who's successful, everybody who's changed their lives has done the exact same thing. It's easier, for instance, and don't use this as an excuse, but sometimes it's even easier to move to a different city to do that, because all of the anchors and all of the unconscious signals that are holding you back, that signify to you that you are still who you used to be, they're just not there. But it's also not necessary. Just do this experiment. Go to a bar, pick a hero from a movie, and be them for a night. Now, one night is not going to be enough. We are here to learn, and this bar or whatever situation you go into is going to be your dojo. You're going to be learning there, and you have to put in the reps. Okay, so do that enough times at this bar or whatever dojo you choose, and eventually you're going to be able to be extroverted or at least act extroverted at whatever location, whatever time, and whatever situation. But until you get the hang of it, you should keep training. Okay, this is how we execute this. Now, let's get into tactics. The first thing I want you to do is start approaching guys. Why? Guys are not threatening. They're not gonna trigger your nervous system as much, because there are a lot of guys, if they're starting to flirt, if they're starting to act extroverted, sometimes it's hard to talk to girls because there's a lot at stake. But if you talk to guys without necessarily having a lot of like survival and reproduction DNA, sexual value at stake, it's a little easier. It's a little easier to make a friendship than to flirt with a girl that you've never met before. Think about you being 2 years old and 4 years old, how easy it was to make a friend at the playground. This is how this works, okay? I want you to create friendships, genuine friendships with guys. I want you to be non-threatening, because obviously guys have might get worried as well. Like the person that you're gonna be trying to be friends with might just become agitated and worried if somebody's approaching them out of the blue. So be non-threatening, and the best way to be non-threatening is to be genuinely curious, which is something that you can use for girls later too. We're gonna get into this in a second as well. You'll see how that works. But genuine curiosity is so easy. It's really just going to the person in front of you and truly being interested in who they are, what they do, how they spend their lives, their personal history, and maybe you can even go into what you guys have in common and bond over that. Okay. Now, I want you to absolutely be physical. Put your hands on guys immediately. You can tap them on the back. You can, pat them on the back. You can high five them. You can just clasp hands with them or whatever. And then make sure that, and this is your introduction, this is like you just poking your way in, being extroverted. This is you opening up, becoming a little louder, having a little louder of a body language. Okay, this is how we do this. Good. Now, put your hands on guys immediately and start speaking louder than you usually would. The loudness of your voice has been conditioned all your life, especially in your childhood, to go down. Because what happened, if you were loud with your parents, then other people looked at you, your parents felt awkward, and then chastised you to keep your voice down. And this way you've been conditioned to keep your voice down. But this is not extroverted and this is not attractive, because the attractive guy is the guy whose parents never had that problem. They were comfortable with being looked at by strangers. And they didn't make sure to keep your voice down so they feel better about themselves. So start becoming a little louder. How to do that? Be 50% louder than what you think is appropriate for the space. And you will see that people are not going to be weirded out about this. And if you are way too loud, then people are going to react a little weird, and then you can calibrate back to a healthy medium. But don't try to inch your way to the healthy medium. Instead, go past it and then calibrate back. That's how we do this. A good way to assess if that's happening is if you hear your voice bouncing off the walls. Okay, I want you to do that. The best way to do that is use diaphragm projection, which is standing upright, standing tall, breathing into your belly rather than into your chest. And once you tighten your belly, then speak out of there. That is diaphragm projection. Super easy. And that is the way to speak loud while at the same time not actually yelling. Okay, this is the voice that cuts through the music of a loud nightclub. This is what I want you to use. Now, we've made friends with guys. We have started putting ourselves out there, and we're gathering the evidence that this is not killing us. This is not bad for us. Instead, guys are finding us cool, we're making connections, and we are increasing our energy. We are increasing our mood. We're becoming extroverted. Congratulations, you're a step closer. Now it's time to talk to women. The first thing I want you to do here is carry over energy. You already built some amazing energy with guys, and if you haven't yet, just keep doing that until you feel that you're happy, that you're expansive, that you are loud and just like even borderline obnoxious, but like in a good way. Okay, once you feel that, it's time to start talking to girls and take that energy with you and start and just talk to the first girl where you find an opportunity. The one way you can do that is by situationally opening the conversation. Maybe you notice something, maybe something about her or something about the bar, or maybe you caught both you and her looking at the same thing. Just make a point to mention that to her, and then from there start a conversation. If you can't do that, it's okay. You can prep some openers. You can prep some ways where you can open the conversation. You can prepare lines. Lines you can say, the first line I want you to say is, "Hi, I haven't met you yet, but you look interesting." If you have the carryover good energy from the interactions with guys and say these words, I guarantee you, and look the girl in the eye, I guarantee you that every girl is going to be happy to start a conversation with you. Another line that you can say is, "Hi, my name is blank." If it's Jack, just say, "Jack, what's your name?" Amazing. Now the conversation has all opened. And now you have different, multiple ways to open a conversation with a woman. Super simple. You just approached your first girl, bro. Like, we are rolling. Let's go. The next thing I want you to do is compliment and tease. That's what an extroverted guy will do. An extroverted guy is not going to take anything very seriously. Okay. So the way to compliment girls is, first, be honest about your compliment. Okay. And if your bar is very high of what you find cool and attractive and nice and awesome, lower that bar. Be a little more lenient with people. She doesn't have to wear the best shirt in the world for you to compliment it. If it's a nice color, you can just say that. Now, the key here is this. You cannot compliment her eyes, or you cannot compliment things that she didn't work for. You need to compliment things where you know she put energy in. That is very important. And at the same time, the best compliments are the ones where you showcase that you look deeper than most people. For instance, most guys would compliment her eyes, but if you compliment the way that she picked her shirt that matches her purse, and that is fucking cool. Like, you see that she put energy in it and you cared to look deeper. You cared to kind of understand what kind of a personality would pick that shirt. So you can link the choices that she's made that are apparent visually to deeper things about her, like her personality, her values, things like that. Okay. That's how you compliment a girl. At the same time, in the same breath, I want you to also tease her. Because if you just compliment a girl, that's going to come across as just maybe boring a little bit, or mundane, or sometimes even insincere if it's just compliments. So if you balance it out with teasing, that's great. That is exactly the kind of like emotional situation that we want to create with a girl. That's how you flirt. And that is how you flirt like a fucking extrovert. Okay. Now, the way to tease her is call in stereotypes. If she's black, you can tease her about like eating watermelon or not being able to swim. If she's white, you can tease her about being a Swiftie. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay. The other way to do that is to view her through the lens of your little sister. So whatever she says, you're not gonna take seriously. You're just gonna like be a little too cool for her in that way. Okay. And always what you can do for teasing, it will always work, is identify and exaggerate. That means identify things about her ego, about where she feels like, you know, she's very emotionally invested, what kind of topics she's very emotionally invested in, and then exaggerate them. So like, maybe she's like a pothead, and you can tease her about when she's gonna, you know, grow that fucking rasta, and like, oh my god, your rasta is in the way, and you're you know, like, what's happening with you know what I mean. So okay, good. So now we've opened the conversation with the girl. We started it. We've also complimented her. We've shown her that we look deeper than most guys, but at the same time, we're not taking the whole situation too seriously. Okay, this is amazing. So far, you're doing amazing. The next thing we need to do is lead. So understand that you need to share an experience with a girl. You need to create your own experience and include her into that. This is how we lead them. Leading is one of the most attractive traits a man can have. There's 6 traits. I talk about them in a lot of my content, so click around if you want to learn more about that. But leading, bro, leading is one of the most important ones. So create an experience in that bar and share it with her. How are we going to create an experience? Maybe you can do something like that. Introduce her to other women and role play. Maybe you can go to a girl that's passing by and you can say, hey, this is my wife. And then she's going to play along with it. And now you guys have kind of a conspiracy going. It's you against everyone else in the bar. And that creates a little bubble that brings you a little closer. That is so cool. Generally, get creative with creating an experience. And generally, I want you to assume responsibility for both you and her. If you are leading this girl, now she's your responsibility. You want to make sure that she's safe. You want to make sure that she's comfortable, that she's having a good time. And you can you can just move her around the bar as well. You can guide her to, you know, from one bar to a lounge, from a lounge to a different bar, and just keep experiencing more locations with her, because the more you do that, the more experiences you're gonna have together. Okay. And finally, I want you to, definitely take initiative. Definitely be the one whose idea it is to do the next thing, whatever that is. And at the end, I also want you to break the touch barrier like you did with guys. Patting them on the back, you can do it with girls. But with girls, it can be a little more flirtatious. So instead of patting her on the back, you can just guide her through a threshold, through like some kind of doorway, by placing your hand in the small of her back. It's a very gentlemanly thing to do. Fucking amazing. Now, we're leading. Okay, good. Now, after having experienced a bunch of things together, I want you to close, to seal the deal. How do we seal the deal? Well, you can go to a different venue together. You can keep going somewhere else. You can fucking create an experience. Or, if that's not possible, you can make plans and ask for her number. First we make plans, then we ask for the number. Because asking for the number, now there is a reason to do that, because we have plans. Don't ask for the number first. And when you take a girl's number, what you will do is grab her phone, put your number in, text yourself, and save your number. And then you hand her her phone back. That way, she knows who it is when you're texting her. And secondly, you can assume the responsibility for being the one who initiates the texting. Okay, good. And with all that, the last step is to keep leading. Just because now you're in the closing phase doesn't mean that you have to stop leading. Now, always lead all the way toward creating some kind of adventure or even some kind of relationship. And that is how an extroverted guy would conduct himself on a night out. And if you do that enough, if you take these steps enough, eventually you're gonna be able to act extroverted in whatever situation you find yourself in. So, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.